differently. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it's 405 dead center at Alex Box, the new Alex Box that is, which '09 if you want to say that's new, but um, it's new to. I feel like in the grand scheme of college sports,
Right.
it's a pretty new facility. It feels like everybody's caught up though to LSU and what they have, and it feels like maybe some of the pressure of the fans want something else. But Hoover Met is 405 to the center. The difference is the sides are much further, I think, than Alex Box. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, but it plays very big. No doubt about it, which I feel like plays a little bit advantage into LSU somewhat because we're kind of a long ball team. Chris, what are these weather delays? How does that affect maybe pitching decisions? How does that affect the team's mentality or the tournament in general? I mean, do you think there may be any changes to like I saw somebody mention there may be a single elimination instead of a double elimination. How is all that going to work out?
Yeah, I think luckily for LSU, they haven't started playing. I think it's more of a nuisance if you start playing, kind of like Alabama, Georgia today, right? They may have 2 or 3 rain delays today, so
Yeah,
it's aggravating as a player if you start, then you stop, and not so much for the position players. I mean, I guess if you're getting in a rhythm and you're scoring runs, a lot of things can change when you come out of that rain delay, but more so for the pitchers, especially if you're on the mound and then the rain delay happens. You have to try to figure out how to stay warm, how long it's going to last. But I think from
yeah,
LSU's perspective, um, all those pitchers are getting a rest up now. They get an extra day's worth of rest. They're still sitting in the hotel, so those guys are just chilling. They're not really worried
absolutely.
about anything. Obviously, you have an early wake up tomorrow. I mean Thursday, right? So they have an
Right.
early
No
wake up
doubt.
call. And those games are tough. You're not used to that in college, so you got to get the body up and moving. And really, when you're looking at they're going to play Auburn or Kentucky, and we were talking a little bit before the show started. If they play Auburn, that's a huge chance to get a big RPI win and possibly
Absolutely.
solidify their chance as a host site. So, it's one of those games where you got to get the coffee going, get whatever you got to do, get it going, and try to. It's one of those games where I think whoever jumps out early, may have the advantage there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we can talk about that since we're on it. Zach, what are your thoughts on pitching now that there's been a delay? What do you think that they're going to go? I mean, do you go McHale? Do you have a bullpen day? I mean, how does that play into factor now that we have an extra day?
Well, this is a good question. I know we talked about it and discussed it a little bit before the show started. In my opinion, and we talked about this on AYS as well not too long ago during Blake's show. I think you pitch McHale game 2 no matter what happens because McHale has been the most consistent pitcher. I mean, outside of the Ole Miss series, you can get 5 out of him pretty easily. And even in the Ole Miss series, the defense wasn't there to back him up. And he only had, I think, 1 earned run in that game, even though he was pulled early. So,
Mhm.
in my opinion, I think you rock with McHale because either A, you're going to win that game 1 and you're going to advance to game 2 against probably the best team in college baseball right now, which is the Tennessee Volunteers.
Yeah,
And you have your best pitcher to face them and get a chance to advance further. Or you are in an elimination situation and you have your best pitcher then to face an elimination situation. But it's going to be interesting because LSU, as we know, they don't have a really solid starting weekend rotation.
yeah.
But the back end of the bullpen has been really, really good. So I
Yeah.
got to go to Chris on this one. How do you view the pitching in Hoover? Because as I've mentioned, the weekend rotation hasn't been there consistently, but they do have guys on the back end that have given you really solid production and a lot of outings.
Yeah, that's a great question, and something I've kind of kicked around too, especially when I thought they may be the 5 seed. Trying
Yeah.
to think how Jay Johnson and Jason Kelly were going to approach that. But I think to me, I, I like where you're going with this, Zach, but I really think it depends on the matchup. I think if Auburn beats Kentucky, I think you got to go with your best right there. I think you have to go with Mikhail Hilliard. And then you have the whole bullpen to back him up, like we've seen and like you mentioned. I think if Kentucky wins, maybe you roll the dice with Grant Taylor. He hasn't pitched in a while. And
Yeah,
then I'm
true.
sure Jay Johnson will have him on a short leash to where you could even back him up with Dutton, or you could start Dutton. And even though he hasn't been great lately, it's kind of the back end of the season. You've seen those freshmen struggle a little bit. Maybe you back him
Yeah.
up with Taylor against Kentucky. I don't know a lot about Kentucky. I know they do have one stud pitcher, which I would imagine and they just played Auburn, right, in this past weekend series, I believe.
Yeah, they beat them. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's going to depend on the matchup. And I even saw a quote. I don't know if y'all saw this, where Jay Johnson, I think he told Leah Van, she put it on her Twitter, that he's not announcing any pitching matchups till an hour and a half before the game. I mean, that is true gamesmanship to the highest level, right? So,
Gotta love it.
I know. I appreciate it. Hats off to him. But
Absolutely.
So for me, Zach, I totally get what you're saying, but I'm going with the matchup, and then maybe a little bit of a roll of the dice there, but I'm going, and if you draw Kentucky, you just hope somebody else can get it done. That way you have Hilliard to face Tennessee, I guess.
Well, hey, look, that's why you were an SEC pitcher. I'm doing podcasts. That's why.
I gotta agree, Chris. I mean, if it's Auburn, man, Sonny DeShera. Oh, what's that other dude's name? Is it
Rambush is at the top of the order. Yeah, he kind of sets the table for him.
Scary hitters, man. Those are scary hitters that I would be more comfortable if McHale was on the mound rather than trying to piece something together against them and get to the second game to Tennessee where you're going to pitch McHale your best. I would rather throw your best out there and win as many games as possible in the SEC tournament because that's kind of what you want to do right now to solidify yourself with hosting site there in Baton Rouge. And to do that is to win games, right? And Chris kind of mentioned this. That would help your RPI if you beat a team like Auburn. And we've mentioned this earlier podcasts. The committee takes in the tournament games into account as conference wins. Yeah. And I think that they rightfully should. So the more conference wins you put together, especially against a team like Auburn, who I believe is hosting. Am I wrong about that? I mean, they're hosting.
They're going to host. Yeah, they're definitely going to host.
So, I mean, you go out there, put your best out there, beat Auburn, and that's a win against another team who's hosting after a sweep against Vandy. That's 4 wins in a row against a really good RPI teams. I mean, Vandy was top 3, top 5, and we swept them in Nashville. Could really, really help yourself and do yourself some favors by going out there and beating Auburn game 1. Maybe you get Kentucky, though. The game has to be played. We'll see how it goes. But so not to think ahead, but to think ahead, just because that's our natural tendency.
Right.
Tennessee, I mean, they are who they are. And if let's speak hypothetically here. Chris, how crucial is it if we beat Auburn with McHale? How crucial is it that Ty Floyd has stepped up and we could pitch him against Tennessee? I mean, it hasn't been a very consistent, but what he did against Vanderbilt was awesome. I mean, he went 6+ innings, 7 strikeouts, only 1 earned run, no walks. It was a fantastic outing. If he can go out there and do that against Tennessee, I mean, how big is that with our struggles at starting pitcher so far this year?
I think it's massive, and I think everybody, I'm sure y'all included, we were all hoping to see this move like a month ago. You know, I think he had a good outing, and then he went to UNO, and he didn't pitch good at all at UNO. He looked bad. But then you saw against Alabama, he threw really well in an extended outing, and then to me, almost it was the Friday night carryover game for Ole Miss, but he basically started game 1 on Saturday morning, and he dealt. He threw 6 innings. He saved the bullpen. It was all for naught because LSU got swept. But to me, we know he's got the fastball, right? He's going to be 93 to 95. He's got great mechanics. And as y'all are shaking your head, I'm sure you would agree, the breaking ball has been the issue, just from a consistency standpoint.
Is it a command issue, Chris, with him? Because it seems like when he's able to command those secondary pitches, that's when he's on.
I think you hit the nail on the head, Zach. That's exactly it. And even if his fastball at times, it doesn't miss a lot. It misses like just enough, when he gets wild. But yes, his breaking ball, it's just he has not been able to consistently throw it for a strike. And I think what you saw against Vanderbilt, he was able to flip in his breaking ball 0-0 or even 0-1, which makes his fastball that better. And this, I don't think this has gotten talked about enough. The past two outings against left-handed hitters mainly, I don't know where this changeup came from, but his changeup, he doesn't throw it a lot, but his changeup is filthy. And I saw it a little bit against Alabama, more so against Ole Miss, and a little more early in the game against Vanderbilt. But and I'm not saying it's super consistent right now. We're just hoping his breaking ball can get consistent. But if he could add a changeup, and I said it on my podcast, he's got Friday night. He's the Friday night guy next year unless something crazy happens.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I don't know if y'all are thinking along the same lines, but his stuff is great.
No, even last year, Chris. Agree. I mean, you saw that. I mean, last year, you were like you could see him coming in and being a weekend rotation guy and a Friday night guy. So I have to agree with you, Reagan.
Yeah, I mean, when you're he's got the fastball that he does, mid 90s like that, and he's throwing the breaking ball for a strike. Yeah, I mean, you expect that kind of guy to be in the SEC on a Friday night. And I earlier in the season, I spoke highly of Grant Taylor because his fastball is like mid-90s, and he at times can throw the breaking ball for a strike. And I'm like, this guy in next year or the next few years is going to be pushing for a rotation spot because those are the type of guys that you love to see on an SEC Friday night or an SEC rotation. So, I mean, I think the fact that he has commanded his breaking ball the last few times, and Chris, you're absolutely right. That outing against Ole Miss was huge because I mean it gave you an advantage. It gave you an advantage for the rest of that series because he saved your bullpen for a period of time. But I mean, like you said, it was for naught. But anyways, that was huge. And then what he did against Vanderbilt, this could be a great piece for the postseason to have Ty Floyd pitching the way he is. And I would be thrilled to see him go against Tennessee's lineup. I would be absolutely thrilled. Yeah,
that would be fun. And as y'all know, if you think about it, take the SEC tournament out of it, and whether or not LSU hosts, we all hope they do.
Yeah.
And let's just assume, even if Ty Floyd pitches against Tennessee, and I even think, I mean, we could go off on a tangent. Jay Johnson may even play more mind games to where he's like, because to me, the Tennessee game could be complete gravy to where maybe you start hasty, and then he's like, who cares? But we have Floyd, say we lose, and you have Floyd going the next game, like you said earlier, Reagan, just stacking wins. It just matters how many wins we get. But if you're looking at a regional, you got Hilliard and Floyd and the bullpen. I mean, that's dominant. And I think this team has more than enough to get to a super regional. Then you're looking at rolling. All you got to do is win 2, right? So you're rolling those guys out there, and those bullpen guys will throw. It doesn't matter every day because they don't care at that point. So it's exciting if you're an LSU baseball fan right now.
So we've praised the bullpen, and rightfully so. Chris, what is it about this bullpen that makes it so dynamic? What has been the success of this bullpen?
Oh, that's a great. I think early on, I don't think anybody knew their role, and I do not think that Jay Johnson and Jason Kelly really knew how to use them. I think they were trying to figure that out. I remember Riley Cooper, his first couple outings, he was not good, and I remember watching him pitch for Arizona last year in the Super Regionals, and I was pumped when he came. And the first month of the season, he was bad, really bad. Yeah. And I was like, I don't know if he's going to figure it out, but now he's a stud. So I think it's always easier coming out of the bullpen when you know what is expected of you and you know your role.
Correct.
And obviously they've shown the ability to mix and match with lefty-righty matchups based their big analytics coaching staff. Mm-hmm. And you've seen, obviously, Gervais settle into the end of the game, but you can see Gervais set up and Raiselman close. And also, and this is a complete guess on my part, I think bullpen guys have a lot of camaraderie because you're down there, you're warming up together, you're not sure who's going to go in, so you're hanging out at that part of the field from the 6th through the 9th, and you compete against one another, but if you mess up, like your brother's there to help you out.
Yeah.
So what we always did was, look, I'm going to go as hard as I can for as long as I can. If I can't get it done, then you pick me up and you get it done. I think you're seeing
That's awesome.
That's just me projecting onto those guys, but that's what I think you're seeing the past month. And when things have gone bad, it's going to go bad at some point. But for the most part, as y'all know, they've been dominant for probably 2 months now.
So, Chris, obviously you're a southpaw.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how impressive has been Hasty? Or is there another lefty on the staff that you've been very impressed with? I mean, obviously Hasty's been kind of the guy. But I mean, who else? At least right now, for here recently, who else on the staff?
Cooper,
Southpaw White, Riley Cooper, obviously, has just really impressed you.
I mean, I think both those guys, from a left-handed perspective, and to see the situations that they come into, all these guys, Jay Johnson, Jason Kelly, they're not bringing those guys in with nobody on base. They're bringing those guys in tight situations. Yeah. And you have to make really good pitches to heart of the order guys, or you don't really have the thin margin you have for error. So Hasty's been enormous because he kind of came out of nowhere to me, and his ability to extend, for his ability to go, up to 4 innings now has been massive.
Especially when you lost Javon Coleman. I mean, because Javon Coleman, we kind of, Chris, and I don't know if this was you too, but we kind of were thinking, potential weekend rotation guy with Javon, especially with how he ended, in the Tennessee series in the Super last year. So, I mean, Hasty's definitely stepped up and at least somewhat filled that role that a lot of us thought Javon was going to assume whenever he came back this season.
Yeah, and I think another thing that can't be overlooked, and with the previous staff, this used to really aggravate me as a former pitcher, and you've really seen Kelly and Johnson do a very good job, almost an aggravatingly good job. My point is, you've seen guys now on the back end in the bullpen, they're able to throw multiple times throughout the weekend. And I think previously with Paul Maneri's staff and his approach to pitching, it aggravated me because they wouldn't throw Devin Fontenot Friday, Saturday, or Friday, Sunday if they thought he took too many pitches. And to me, I guarantee you Fontenot can throw 2 times in a weekend. But now you see, they try to keep it at that 30-pitch limit, and they feel like these guys can bounce back. But it's very refreshing to see these guys throw multiple times in a weekend, and I know they like that, right? I guarantee you they want to throw as much as possible, and they look fresh, and that's what's been exciting for me as a former bullpen guy, the fact that they get the ball a lot.
Just a quick update, guys. It's bottom of the 10th. Florida has runners on second and third, 1 out. Their third base coach just put the brakes on this runner that very easily could have won the game. There was a base hit. He was on second base. He threw up the brakes. The center fielder overthrew the catcher.
Wow.
Game could have been over. But he airmailed that ball. He would have made it easily. But they're on second and third, 1 out. I mean, pop fly will end that game, or just a dribbling ground ball will end the game for Florida. So I think we've talked enough about Hoover. I kind of want to transition now a little bit to maybe some postseason expectations for our next segment. Chris, no doubt we're pushing for a postseason host, and that's what we want.
Mm-hmm.
Now some people after the Vandy series think we were a lock for the host. What are your feelings on that?
Probably like y'all, and I'd love for y'all to tell me your feelings. I felt confident, but then you get on Twitter, you see D1 baseball, and you see these guys' projections, and it's kind of aggravating, right? When you see, like, I don't know Georgia Southern from anybody, but I guarantee you they haven't run the gauntlet that LSU has, and I guarantee you their stadium probably seats about 1,500 people. So, I mean, I'd be more than happy for them to send LSU over there and let LSU take care of Georgia Southern in their own field. But
or Southern Miss as well, Chris.
Yeah. I mean, I said it on my pod, and I'm sure y'all said it. If I'm a team, I'm trying to TCU, or Texas State, and they sent LSU to our regional, I'm pissed.
Scared to death.
I am not happy, Coach. So it's yeah, I think it would be great for this team and for Jay Johnson just to get a regional. And look, as y'all know, I think it's all about matchups. It just depends on, and some of these who gets sent to your region, but some of these teams that are going to come in as 4 seeds with the transfer portal. And Zach, you did a great job saying it earlier. These group of 5 teams, and we've seen it in the past with Stony Brook and Coastal Carolina. These cats can play, you know.
Yep.
So
anybody and everybody.
The separation between like Power 5 and Group of 5, like it is in football and basketball, it's not there in baseball. It's just not.
No.
So
no.
yeah, I mean, what do y'all think? I mean, do y'all think? Say, I always play devil's advocate. Say they go 2-Q. Do you think that's? I mean, not. What are y'all feeling? I mean, how do y'all think? You know, after the Vandy series.
I think if they go 0-2, I would be very concerned. Yeah. I'd be concerned. But I don't know, Chris. That's a great it is a great question. I think you win 2 and you're good. I really do. And that seems like where everybody's at. It seems like everybody's kind of at if we go 2-2, you know, we've got it. We've got it locked down.
Yeah.
But I am curious, and Reagan, I guess you can follow up after this. I am curious if they go out there and they win the whole dang thing. Is there any chance you are a top 8? What just happened? What just happened?
Y'all, Florida just hit a ball that was caught on a liner in center field. The center fielder threw it in a dart, and it was a very close play at home. They called him safe, but I think they're going to review it. I think he's out.
No,
they have to review that.
Sullivan's gonna fire the third base coach before he gets back to the team bus.
They better review that. I thought he was out by a mile. They may have said he slid under the tag, but they're going to review that. They just like ripped his jersey off and everything, and they just told him to put it back on.
The benefits of doing a live stream, right?
Yeah.
Wow. What a
Chris, we were live whenever
he dropped the ball. He's safe.
He's safe. No, that's game over.
Unless he had possession with the tag. Oh, he's out.
Which is it right
here? He had the ball in his glove, made the tag, and he was not on the plate. And then as he turned from making the tag, the ball popped out. That's safe, right?
I don't know.
I have to see it.
That is going to be a very controversial.
So, Chris,
call.
we were live the Friday night game of the state series. We were
call
live.
Confirmed. Florida wins.
That's when
Trey Morgan up the middle. Yeah,
Trey Morgan up the middle. They came back, and then was it Doty? I think it was Doty that brought in the go ahead. Yeah, was it Doty or Cruz? I can't remember. Anyways. But Reagan, I asked it, if they win the whole thing, is there, and Chris, you can answer this too, is there the potential there to be a super regional host? I feel like it's probably a stretch, but I mean, and maybe it depends on how they look too. I don't know if the committee considers that. And another thing, the committee also considers injuries. I know that as well. And LSU has been plagued by injuries. If they go out and they win the whole thing, especially with Barry struggling with some injuries right now, obviously Doty here more recently, is that a potential? Maybe I'm just a fan hoping and dreaming, but
I mean, go ahead, Reagan. What do you think?
I think we're hosting, honestly, as we stand. I think we're a hosting team. I just don't understand how our RPI didn't jump up higher, honestly. I mean, you swept the the team who was ranked 3 in the RPI in their own stadium, and it's Vanderbilt.
And it wasn't close.
I know this is and it was we outscored them 42-15.
Right.
I mean, and I think you have to take into consideration that Barry was out against Ole Miss. I know you can't, say that if he's in there, you win the whole series, because I would not say that either. But I don't know, man. I think we're hosting as we stand, but if we go two and out in the SEC, I think that could hurt us for sure, and would definitely bring some worry. I think if you beat Auburn and let's say we go play Tennessee, lose that, win another game in the losers bracket, go like 2-2 in the SEC tournament, I think we're a host, honestly. And especially if you make the Tennessee game like a decent game, so you don't get blown out, you play it close. I like LSU hosting, honestly, right now. That may be a little bit biased, but I don't know. Just coming off a sweep in Nashville against Vanderbilt, I gotta think we're hosting, honestly. But we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I think if you go 2-Q, I think they're going to be in trouble.
Absolutely.
I have a feeling they're going to be a 2 seed somewhere. Yeah. Unfortunately, I think if you go 2-2, I think you're good.
Yeah.
And Zach, to your point, man, if you win the whole thing, I mean, you got to figure if you win the whole thing, you're going to beat Tennessee twice.
Yeah.
And on the other side, you'll probably face Arkansas or A&M potentially in the finals, which is huge. And A&M is going to be a top 8 national seed. Yeah. I don't know if you can sneak up into that realm. I mean, maybe you get to 10 or 11.
I think in 2014 it was a similar situation, and LSU, I believe, finished the season like 17-13, and they were like a regional host. Went on to win the whole SEC tournament and got a national 8 seed. So I don't know.
I tell you what, the ACC is a problem this year because, I mean, you got Virginia Tech, who's ranked 2nd or 3rd. Those guys came out of nowhere. Apparently, they can absolutely crush the baseball. You got Virginia Tech, you got Notre Dame, you got Louisville, you got Miami. So those are 4 host sites right there, and a couple of top 8 national seeds. So those guys are going to beat each other up in the conference tournament. Florida State, they've been struggling. They were looking at a host site a little while ago, but I think they had a bad weekend. So and you just got random teams up there like Maryland, right? They play in the Big Ten. The Big Ten's garbage, but Maryland is, I think their strength of schedule is like in the 200s or something ridiculous, but they're ranked very, very high. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with all those ACC teams. That's kind of the wrench right there is just so many ACC teams this year, it seems like.
Yeah, I think, dude, if LSU gets 2 wins in this tournament, you cannot convince me that this committee would like to host at Georgia Southern rather than send 4 teams to Baton Rouge, Alex. Right. Like, come on. I mean, seriously?
Yeah.
Like, are we seriously going to put Georgia Southern as a national seed ahead of LSU, and they just swept Vanderbilt, a top 5 RPI team, and they went and got 2 wins in the SEC tournament? Like, come on. I mean, anyways, let's say like we go 2-Q. Where do you wind up? I mean, right now D1 baseball has you at Hattiesburg. I feel like that'd be a takeover. I mean, honestly,
for real.
I feel like LSU fans would flood Hattiesburg.
Right. I think we might go if it's at Hattiesburg. That ain't super far from us, man.
We have family down in Picayune, which is south of Hattiesburg, and all in that area, dude. It's LSU country down there. I mean, there's
really
plenty of LSU fans.
A lot of LSU fans.
Yeah, and I'd say the other place too would be a potential LSU takeover is if you go to TCU. I lived in Dallas for 6 years before I moved back home 2 years ago, and there are plenty. And y'all know that from all the football games that's held at AT&T and stuff. But there are plenty of LSU alumni in the Dallas area that would flood TCU's nice but little bitty stadium over there in Fort Worth. So that would be another takeover as well.
How mad do you think Southern Miss would be if they sent LSU to
Pissed. Those dudes would be so mad.
That's the thing, though. Is we see that last year we were seeing potentially Ruston, and everybody's like, "Oh, dude, I mean, that would be incredible." And then they send you out to stinking Eugene, Oregon, and then before that we were sent out to Corvallis, and before that we were sent out to UCLA. What is it with LSU being sent out west? What in the world is it?
I have no idea. I mean, maybe y'all have more insight, and sometimes the history gets lost. I mean, it does seem like they've tried to do more regionalization. I know they have the top 16 and then they go after that, but it seems like a lot of it, if Southern Miss is an 11 or whatever they are, you're going to tell me LSU is like a 20? I don't know about that. So It does seem like they try. I'm trying to look at the projections like y'all have, and it seems to be a little more regionally based this year. But I don't know. I mean, another one I was thinking about for a little while was Texas Tech or Oklahoma State, but those guys may have fallen out of favor as well. And you wonder if they're going to send Texas to A&M, and I'm sure,
That's all that.
right? They have to deal with that guy,
awesome.
that Melendez guy, or whatever his name is, who's got like 20-something bombs. So that would be funny. But and then Texas State, they're talking about Texas State being a host site too. So I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do.
Well,
those are good questions.
We'll see how it plays out in Hoover. I mean, I think maybe if you even get one here in Hoover, that really helps your chances. But you get two, I think you really solidify yourself as a hosting team. I mean, just like we were talking about earlier, stack wins as much as you can.
Yeah.
Do what you can to be successful in Hoover, and I like our chances. I really do. Y'all, I'm honestly quite excited because late time SEC tournament baseball games. I'm looking forward to watching the Ole Miss Vandy game. It's something about them late games. I'm going to stay up and watch it. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if I can do it.
Absolutely. I love the SEC tournament in Hoover. I'm going to be staying up watching it. So guys, let's get to a few of these comments. There's people commenting, asking questions and whatnot about hosting and whatnot, and then we'll hit a quick break and we'll come to our Q&A session. So guys, we're going to hit some of your comments that you've already thrown in there, but start throwing in your Q&A for Chris. Any questions you want to ask him, any questions you want to ask us, you can throw in a Tell Me TA as well. So y'all start throwing those in. So when we come back from the break, we can hit some of those comments. But some of these are in here already. Let's see. Florida going Florida. That's what the Golden Boot Pod said. Florida. Chris is Blake. The GOAT. There's Blake.
There you go. Look at him. There you go. Appreciate that,
man. I'm never gonna not hear this from Blake until it's over. So Chris, to give the background, they bet me if LSU won 2 to shave, and I thought they meant the mustache. I had a full they call me Dr. Strange. Like they're like, I got a Dr. Strange going on now. So I did. Like when LSU won 2 in Nashville, I shaved the mustache. I didn't know they meant the whole dang thing.
They want to see that. They want you going babyface. So Blake's getting on.
I can't do that. I can't do that. I told him, I said, I haven't shaved this since 2015. Y'all don't want to see babyface Zach.
They bet him, which I don't know if he'll do it or not, but they said if LSU goes on to win the whole SEC tournament, he's got to shave it all. And Blake said if LSU won the Natty, he would shave his beard.
Natty, he'll shave the beard.
Which
he's got
got a full beard.
He's got
I said if that's on the line, Zach's got to get like little accent line shaved in his eyebrow, like
Vanilla Ice style or something. Get some line
Justin Broussard mentioned something about the Hattiesburg. I mean, we're projected as a 2 seed in Hattiesburg from what I saw today. So I think winning the SEC or making the finals, they are hosting.
Definitely.
Oh man, if you make the finals or win it all, you're absolutely hosting, no questions asked.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's hit a quick break, and then when we come back, y'all ask Chris these questions. I don't see any in there right now, so y'all go ahead and fire them in there. I know me and Zach got some questions. I'll let Zach get to it first, but let's hit a quick break, and when we come back, we'll hit a Q&A with Chris Demouy. 5-Star Hero, your intro and outro music for the Tigers Avenue show. They ain't ready for that LSU. Go check out all his other music on all the major platforms. Don't forget to follow him on Instagram at Saints Anthem and at Twitter at One Nation Doty. Don't forget to check out his Facebook page for all his Saints and LSU merchandise. 5-Star Hero. Can't get any better than Sarah Klein Stevens, attorney at law. Her firm focuses on the needs of the elderly and maintaining their dignity throughout the process. Here for you, here for your family. Sarah Klein Stevens, attorney at law. All right. Chris, man, once again, we really appreciate you joining the show and doing this and taking this time to answer our questions and interact. We already got some Ask Chris here in the comments. Ask Chris, were you able to develop any pitches during your time at LSU?
Yeah, I would say I just got a better feel for my breaking ball. Coach Bertman was very big on. He didn't like throwing changeups because of the era that we played in. He always felt like even if you threw a good changeup, it could still get hit a long way. So I think you've seen people in, I would say, the last 15 to 20 years, a lot of guys have developed changeups due to the bat changes and whatnot. But I think we all had good breaking balls. So I was able to develop a better feel for my breaking ball to where I could throw it at any count, at any point in time, so righty or lefties. And that just kind of came with practice and really being forced to, because if you didn't have it, you weren't going to pitch a lot for him. So
Yeah.
that's probably, I had a change up, but I probably threw it 5 times a year. So it definitely wasn't something that I threw a lot.
Zach, do you have any questions for him?
Yeah, I ask some question, and then we'll throw in Chris's question here. Man, for me, I feel like you've probably been asked this like 500 times, but what was probably one of your most memorable memories of Skip Coach Bertman? I mean, how was that like? Obviously, to play under him, but what was the most probably memorable? Maybe a funny one. Maybe one that not a lot of people know about that cracked y'all up. I don't know. So, what was a memorable moment?
Yeah, I
for
mean,
you?
he was great at being able to relay what he knew about the game to us. And he was our pitching coach, so he worked with us constantly. And I think the biggest thing that he taught us as pitchers was he kind of developed these rules over time to where, like, I'll give you a for instance. So in the first inning, he would always, we had these meetings every year, like during the fall, you had a meeting every Friday after practice. And he would go over kind of like the tenets of pitching, not only just our signs, but what our system was. So in the first inning, he would always say, as a starter, in the first inning, you have to be prepared because one, the umpire's strike zone is going to start small because he's trying to figure out his strike zone. 2, you're going against the team's best hitters, and 3, you have to be able to throw something for a strike. I don't care what it is, fastball, changeup, curveball, slider, something, to where when you leave the bullpen mound, I know you have at least this pitch for a strike, and we can get the others on board once you get into a rhythm. Mm-hmm. So he armed you with some different things to know that, like, if you missed on a fastball outside in the first inning, I didn't start very much, but you're like, okay, the umpire's zone. He just armed you with facts to know that you really wouldn't get rattled at different points in the game. I'll tell you 2 funny stories that happened to me directly, but and I think each pitcher has their own funny story. But it was 1997, so. If you're under 35, you don't even remember the 90s, right? The late 90s baseball's lost on you. But 1997, so we're playing against Florida here at home, and he came up to me and he said, Demouy, I pitched the day before and I gave up a 3-run home run. Didn't throw great. So I'm warming up in the outfield pregame, and he said, hey, I'm not going to imitate his voice because I don't do it great. He just said, Demouy, yeah, some guys do it really well, not me. He said, Demouy, I finally got you figured out. I'm like, yeah, what's that, coach? He goes, see, I figured out, like, you're good one day and you're bad the next. So yesterday you were bad. Like, you were really bad. So today I'm assuming you're going to be good. So why don't you make sure you're ready to pitch today? And lo and behold, a vote of confidence right there, right? Like a little back-end vote of confidence.
What a pep talk.
I know. And if you just took it as Skip, you're like, oh, hey, get this. Skip just kind of put me down, but lifted me up at the same time. But lo and behold, I go in to pitch, and I do well. I close the game out, and we win. But it was just funny because he just said, you were bad yesterday, but today you're going to be good, right? Like, today's the good Demouy.
Today's your good day.
And then one time I was pitching against Tulane, and I'm not going to explain the situation. I was trying to do something. Tulane was trying to do something against me being left-handed, and I was trying to outsmart Tulane, and it didn't work. And after the game in our meeting in right field, he looked at me and said, Demouy, you're the dumbest smart guy I've ever met. I was like, sorry, coach. So I always hold on to that. He just called me the dumbest smart guy. So
he's kind of got that compliment sandwich thing going on. Like,
I know.
Compliment with a slight, and then a
compliment. You just had to know how to take him. Some guys. I loved pitching for him. I always wanted to prove to him that I could pitch. Even when I was a senior, even though I'd pitched a lot and pitched in some high leverage games, I always wanted to show him that you could trust me and I'd be out there at battle for you, good or bad, because I had a lot of bad ones. But it was always fun playing for him, though. Always a good time.
That's awesome.
So we got a question from Chris English, and we'll hit this briefly, guys, because we did cover a lot of this. But let's give our predictions. Chris English says, "So, what are your predictions for SEC and NCAA tournaments?" I know we've talked about it a lot, so let's just kind of go. We'll start with Reagan. Just how many wins does LSU get in the SEC tournament? How far do you think they go in the NCAA tournament?
I think in the SEC tournament you get 2. I think LSU gets 2 wins. I think they win the first game, probably lose the second, win in the losers bracket, then come out and lose and be put out. I think that's my expectation. They could do better than that based on how they've been playing this past series. My expectation for NCAA, what I would want is for them to at least make it to a super regional. Obviously, I would hope they would go further, but I think right now I want a super regional at least. So, year one, Jay Johnson, I'm not going to expect him to repeat what he did at Arizona and go to the finals like he did his first year. That's just hard to do, and you don't want to put that expectation on a coach first year. So I'll say super regional.
Yeah, I'll go. I agree with Reagan on this. I think 2-2. I think if you weren't on Tennessee's side of the bracket, I think things could play out a lot differently.
Yeah.
And to me, win or lose against Tennessee, I don't really. I mean, it'd be great to beat them. It's a great feather in your cap, and it's a huge bump.
Man.
But I mean, if I'm Jay Johnson, I would spin it as it doesn't matter. Like, let's just like Reagan said. I think him and the staff probably know if they get 2, they're good. Hosting, I think hosting would be great. And to me, all bets are off when you get to a super regional because I think it's just about matchups and who knows who you get paired up against and then what they have going for them really on the mound. And I like LSU's bullpen in that situation a lot. I just don't think many teams, and you've even seen in SEC, nobody else can throw out like 6 arms that are really good.
Yeah.
You see 2 or 3, but not the quantity and quality that LSU has. And in a super regional, I mean, that could be massive. So all bets are off. I hope they get to a super and then just let it play out from there.
So I guess we're going 3 for 3 on this because I kind of agree with y'all. I think they're going to probably be 2-2. I'd love to see them go 3-2. And Hoover, can you go 3-2? Yeah, you can go 3-2. So I'd love to see that. I do think they get at least 2 wins. I feel pretty confident in that, and I think they make it to Omaha this year. I said at the beginning of the season that. To me, it felt like the floor was, and we had a lot of hype coming in the season. We did, with all the returning guys that came back, and they were, was it D1 Baseball put them at number 1 in their position? I mean, you had Dylan Cruz number 1 in position, Barry number 1 in his position, Morgan number 1 in his position,
right.
Kay Doty was number 4 in his position, Dugas was 14th in his position. So like with all that coming back, there was a lot of hype. And so for me, the floor was the super regional. And I think they make a super regional. I really do. Whether they're a 2 seed, whether they're a 1 seed, I think they make the super regional. And I have to agree with Chris because of their bullpen, because you've got 6, 7 guys you can throw out there. I mean, we saw it last year with State. Right? Vanderbilt had the best 1-2 punch in the country, but State had the deepest bullpen, and that helped them win the national championship. And so for me, the bullpen that LSU has, I think, can take them a long way, especially if they continue to perform at the way that they have been performing really this entire season. So that's for me. Let's get to these questions. Blake, first off, come back. He said, I'll dress like Vanilla Ice all week if we win the Natty. AD is in here. He said, the Avenue Crew, as always. Blake does want to ask you a question, Chris. Chris, is Dylan Cruz the best center fielder we've seen at LSU?
I mean, that's a great question, and I'm bad on history. I feel like from the Smoke era, even through Matuk and those guys, I just missed a whole segment of LSU baseball. I did say on my pod the other day he is a top 10 position player, in my opinion, in the history of LSU baseball, assuming next year is similar to these 2 years. Right, sure. He's top, and I divide the pitchers and the position players. But I mean, you got Matuk is up there. I mean, a guy I played with, Mike Kerner, he did it for 3 years. I mean, he's my age. He's 45, but if you look at his stats And look, we just played with the bats they had. You can't say they're loaded bats. It is whatever they had. That's what we had to play with. But I mean, he's very similar in terms of Cruz, in terms of speed, power, gap to gap. Cruz may have a little bit on him on the defensive side, but Kerner hit 20+ home runs for a couple years, I think, and from 95 to 97.
Yeah.
But I mean, Cruz to me is a baby Mike Trout. That's the only comp I could think of him.
He really is. He really is.
I mean, Mike Trout's a freak, and so I think Cruz is kind of in that mold. So best center fielder. Blake. Let's see him if he has one more year even close to this. I think that's a strong argument for him to be the best center fielder ever.
For sure.
I mean,
yeah.
Let's hit these quick, and I know Reagan's got a question. Brian Page says, "Ask Chris best memory while playing for LSU."
Got to be Warren Morris, man. Got to be the Warren Morris home run. Although
me and Reagan weren't even live.
You know what? You know what? That's what I was going to ask you about. So go ahead. What was that like?
Warren Morris, but 97. I mean, anytime you can beat the mess out of Alabama, that's always good in any sport. Anytime you can dominate Alabama in national championship game, we'll take that. But Warren, that game was just that game was crazy because I think Miami was, and a lot of people, I'm sure a lot of people may not remember, Miami was uber talented. Those guys were absolutely loaded. And I've gone back and watched the game, and the whole game's on YouTube. But Kevin Shipp, who started that game, they were hitting him hard. And Kevin did a great job just to find a way and let us get back into it. But Miami was so good, almost like a Tennessee-esque type of team this year. But I think I can speak for everybody in the dugout to say that everybody thought Warren was going to get a hit to where we tied the game up. I wholeheartedly 100% believe that. You could feel it in the dugout that he was going to get a hit. I don't think anybody thought he was going to get a home run. So that was just icing on the cake. So it's one of those where
injury.
Yeah. And it's one of those where he hits it and everybody's on the top step and you start running and you're running like, oh no, wait, that thing's going out. It went out. And then you go nuts because everybody was just going to meet the runner at home plate. But that was crazy because that game was just such a back and forth game. But yeah, that was nuts. That was crazy.
Absolutely incredible.
Gosh. It's one of those like you got to pinch yourself.
Anytime that comes like the what was it called, the 30 for 30 or the SEC whatever.
Yeah, right.
I gotta watch it. I watch it every time.
Nicest guy. I know a lot of people say that about people, but literally nicest guy ever. So unassuming, and for his story, from a walk on to nothing, weighing $150, and he just. And that as a program player, you want to talk about LSU program players? That's him. That's it in a nutshell.
Sure. I mean, he had to come up behind. LSU legend.
Russ.
Walker.
Todd. Todd. You're right. Yep.
Golly, one of the probably LSU's greatest second baseman of all time. It is LSU's greatest second baseman.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway,
Travis LeBlanc said, "Ask Chris, what do you think of the development of?" We talked about Ty Floyd earlier. What do you think of his development? Seems like a consistent starter as of today.
I completely agree, Travis, and me and Reagan and Zach talked about it, but his development's been phenomenal to where, and we talked about it. His fastball has to be in the zone. That's first and foremost, but the consistency of the breaking ball, that's just a testament to him. And I'm sure the hard work him and Jason Kelly have put in the bullpen. Yeah. I can only assume that's what it's been to. And maybe it's a mind shift because one thing a lot of people may not realize, and it's with any sport, right? Football, basketball, baseball. But once you have confidence, once you go out in the SEC and you realize you can get people out, and then you go out again, and now I can get people out, 1 or 2 times through the order. That just builds that confidence. So that's, I think, what you're seeing with him, to where confidence in all the pitches, and the sky's the limit for that kid. So he could be a huge asset for LSU at the end of the year.
Absolutely. I think y'all might be putting me on y'all's level. Like I'm kind of feeling like, man, I think I'd like to see Ty Floyd game too. Now I think I might be on board with y'all now. I might be on board. All right, last one, and then we'll have Reagan wrap up the show. Ask Chris your own personal top 5 LSU.
Wow, that's God.
Good grief,
man. Baby. Put me on the spot. Top 5 LSU players of all time.
Maybe top 3, man.
That's brutal.
Man, there's so many, especially when you go back to the 80s. Whoa, I think you got to –
McDonald?
Yeah, Ben, it's tough because I personally like. I think you have to have a separate pitcher list, but pitchers you got to go.
Yeah.
You got to go. Ben McDonald. I mean, Mike Soraka from the '90s has probably got to be up there. I think it's tough. Do you talk just strictly LSU, or you talk about what they did in pro ball too? But if you're talking strictly LSU,
Yeah.
Somebody from the
I would
'90s,
assume
like
AD is talking strictly LSU.
strictly LSU.
Yeah.
A guy like Coogan, who's a very good friend of mine, you got to put him up there. I mean, he won 2 national championship games. Nobody's done that.
Yeah.
Nola and what he did at LSU. From a pitching perspective, Rick Green, who was kind of the epitome of a closer early in the 90s. Then you had guys like Lewis Coleman. But position players, oh, God. You got Furness is definitely one. Furness.
Yeah.
Todd Walker.
Have to.
Bro, there's so many. I mean, you could even go back to Albert, Joey Bell, and those guys. Lyle Mouton. Man, there's just too many. I don't know. I'd have to probably write down a list, and it'd be tough. It'd be tough to cut some guys.
Yeah.
So
you may have to have like
Bregman
or something like that.
Bregman.
Yeah, Bregman's definitely up there. Obviously, So
there's so many. I don't know if you can pile it all into one.
That's a lot of dudes. That's a LeMahieu. People forget about LeMahieu. He's just kicking it with the Yankees.
just doing his thing out in New York, man.
He's laughing at your struggle. 80's laughing.
AP. That is. I mean, come on. That's a tough. That's like, hey, your top 10 LSU football players of all time. Like, come on, man.
Come on, man. Look,
he just wants to see me sweat, right?
Yeah, I'll tell you this, Chris. Which, I mean, this may make you feel old, but I mean, I wasn't alive when you were playing. But,
I barely was.
The guy who sold me on LSU baseball and then got me hooked and will forever be my all-time favorite LSU baseball player is Mikey Mata, without question. Yeah, and honestly, to your point that you made earlier about the bats and them saying it's loaded, he hosts his mic'd up
exactly
show with Jared Mitchell, and they were talking about it earlier, and they were like the numbers honestly are not different. Like they're not. Like it's just the bat is the bat you have, and they don't think that it would change much if they batted with bats then that they are now. They honestly, and I thought that was a great point. But anyways, Mata
that's good to hear. Yeah, and it's I know when Mikey was playing, I was in that little kid phase, right? So I spent a lot of weekends at youth baseball games with my son playing. So that. The way we talked about pre-show, that was just kind of a blur to me.
Yeah.
It's one of those. Oh, you catch them at regional World Series time, but you don't really know what they're doing throughout the season. So
yeah,
he was a stud though. He's a stud.
All right, man. Well, Chris, it's been a blast having you on. I mean, have an LSU pitcher from the national championship back-to-back team, it's been fantastic. This is kind of a dream of ours to have LSU players on a show. So we appreciate you joining and making somewhat of that dream come true. So we really appreciate you joining. You've been fantastic with your analytics, and you brought a great perspective from a pitcher when it comes to how it works out with Hoover and the regionals and postseason and whatnot. So we really appreciate you jumping on, and we will have to definitely do this again, man.
No, I had a blast. I mean, it flew by, and I could keep going. So I had a lot of fun. So Zach and Reagan, thank y'all for inviting me anytime, and really, really good time. So great questions and great discussion, and I'm sure we'll be throwing back some DMs the rest of this week and on into regional time. But I'm here for it all, man. Anytime y'all need anything from me, let me know. But seriously, absolute blast. I appreciate y'all.
Absolutely, man. We will definitely have you on again, maybe to discuss once the selection has happened. Selection Monday's passed. We may have to get you on. So
let's plan it. We'll plan it.
Yeah, there you go.
Anytime, man. Anytime, fellas. I appreciate y'all.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Let's hit a quick break, and we will come back and wrap the show up. Make sure you go follow us on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, all at Tigers Avenue, for daily updates on the show and all things LSU sports. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to click off and hit that subscribe button at Tigers Avenue. We broadcast all of our shows live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. All right. There you have it, folks. Chris Demouy. What a fantastic guy. Forever a Tiger. What a fantastic show. Loved all of his input. I think that was awesome to have him on. That was such a blast. Appreciate all y'all hopping in and asking him questions and interacting. Y'all know we love to do it. We love to have y'all on discussing things, talking LSU as we love to do. So we'll catch you next time here in the Tigers Avenue. 5-Star Hero, take us out. Peace.
Who that 5-star? Who that 5-star? And the LSU